Welcome to the Dr. Nikki Starr Show, a podcast to support you in your spiritual awakening and personal development. As a spiritual teacher, healer, and intuitive coach, my intention is to empower you to live your ultimate potential and your ultimate life. As a former medical doctor and mystic, my role is to bridge the gap between science and spirituality to support you in understanding more of your multidimensional aspects. I share on a diverse range of topics, and it's all to support your greatest becoming. My mission is to continue reaching millions of people for the healing and awakening of humankind for the creation of the new earth. Thank you for being here. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Dr. Nikki Starr Show. And we are in the season of love and relationships. And today I'm going to be talking to you about the art of not compromising. And the title is quite unique, and I wanted it to be, I usually don't speak in the not. So I also thought about titling this podcast, The Art of Finding Solutions in Relationships, but I felt like it didn't really speak to the essence of the fact that I truly believe that we never have to settle or compromise or sacrifice in relationship. That if it's truly the right relationship for us and we are communicating in the right way, that really we never have to settle. That relationship really brings us into our highest soul aligned path, and that the life that we are co-creating together is so beautiful, so juicy, so passionate, so wonderful, that you're aligned on the same things, that you could find a solution that's even better than what your preference is. So what I mean by that is, let's say if you have an idea about life and what you want life to be like in your relationship, even before you met the person or even currently. And I think that whenever you start to think that relationship is sacrifice or relationship is compromise, it takes the sparkle out of the relationship. And whenever I'm working with my couple clients, I always tell them, I'm like, listen, no, there's no such thing as compromising. There's no such thing as sacrifice. I want you both to sit down and really find a solution that's even better than either one of you could have ever planned on your own, that either one of you could have ever thought of, but you're going to come up with it together. And because you both are masterminding with each other, you're going to find a solution that's going to light you up, that you're going to be like, oh my God, like, why didn't we think of this before? It does take some time to sit down and really uncover what the values are for you and what it is that excites you and what it is that lights you up and what's actually important to you. And then you're going to be able to find a solution. And I'll share some examples with you as well. So first, I want to plug a relationship teacher that I learned a really fun exercise that can help you get started if you just talking about it is not really cutting it. And so there's a few love and relationship teachers I love. One is David Data, who's more of a polarity practice teacher, where remember we were talking about the masculine and feminine dynamics, and his work is really about supporting women to be more in their feminine and men more in their masculine, and how when the two come together to dance. So I really love all stuff by him, and I've done some work with him as well in some of his courses, and I read books, and I think he's just a great practitioner, and he really started a strong movement with that dance of the masculine and feminine. And I also really love Alison Armstrong, and this technique comes from Alison Armstrong. And I'm paraphrasing, and maybe I've made it into my own, but I would say she inspired this technique. And essentially what you do is you and your partner, or anyone you're in a relationship, actually, it doesn't even have to be a romantic relationship. So let's say if you're trying to find a solution between you and someone else, or you're like not really finding a common ground, or there's a quote unquote challenge or problem and you're trying to figure out the problem. And if either person feels like they're sacrificing or compromising and it's not feeling really good, like by the end, you both want to feel like, yes, I love this solution. I love this plan. I love this. Let's go. Let's move forward with this. So what you do is you both sit down and there's the issue or the problem at hand. And you say to yourself, and you say in relationship, okay, if I had it my way, it would be like this. Things would be like this. We would do it like this. And you just say how it would be. If like there were no obstacles, there were no challenges, if money wasn't an issue, if time wasn't an issue, if like you could just wave a magic wand. And here's where I'm paraphrasing it for myself of how I see this practice is just like if you could have it all your way and everything can go perfectly as planned, like how do you see the events playing themselves out? How do you foresee this situation happening? And how do you see this situation resolving? And how do you see the outcome to this situation? And both people do that. And what happens is the moment one of you starts sharing, the other person starts getting ideas and maybe even is like, oh, yeah, I like that. Yeah. Like, that's great. Like, I love that. Yeah. And then the other person does the same thing. And once both of you speak your highest excitement and importance and the thing that lights you up and what's really of value to you, ideas start to percolate in the field that excite both of you, that really help you both to feel like, yes. Because the truth is, like, we enter into relationship to make our lives better, not to have to sacrifice, not to have to compromise. And for me, that's so important for people to know. And this is how we keep relationships for a long time, because the moment anyone feels like they're compromising or sacrificing, this is really where you start to resent the relationship, in my opinion. And this is where I really have felt couples say like, oh, I'm not even like myself anymore. I've lost myself in the relationship. And we don't want that. Like, we don't want that. We want you to thrive in relationship. We want you to be a better person because of your relationships. So anywhere that you are squashing your self-expression or you're compromising your vision for your life, this is not okay. We don't want this in relationships. And I truly believe that if you love someone and you want to go the distance, that you guys are going to find solutions that are even better. And if you're in a work relationship with someone, you can do this practice too. And it can be even better. Like, you can find a solution that you didn't even think of that you love even more than the original thing you wanted. So your preferences matter, sure, but be open to an expansion, to an evolution, to a transformation of what it is that you want in your life. And so I'll share a funny example with my beloved, where when I met him, he was always like, yeah, I just want to have like a log cabin in the middle of the woods away from the world. And in my head, I was just like, I don't know how this is going to work, because like I'm here to reach like millions of people for the healing and awakening of humankind. And we are both 2-4s in our human design. We're both 2-4 manifesting generators. And the 2 line is the hermit line. So we're both very strong hermits. So that works for us because it's like we both love each other's company and we can both like hermit together. But I also have the 4 line, which he does too, is where we could go to a party and like be like the center of attention and be super sociable in those settings. But when it comes to our like preference, it's generally more of the hermit. But I'm like, well, I'm not going to like disappear from the world. But the truth is, I have done that in a different kind of way. Like when I lived in Malibu, for example, Malibu is like 20 miles long, and I lived at like the tip of Malibu, almost going into Ventura. Or actually it was the first time I lived on the other side of the line, the Ventura side. And I guess it was that both times. Yeah. The first 2 houses in Malibu was all the way out in Ventura County, but it was still Malibu. And so it was still on the sea and all that. And that's essentially what I created. I had this beautiful home where my view was the ocean. So I was like, literally, it was like my version of the log cabin in the woods, because it was just me and all I could see was the sea. And I would go out and it was much quieter up there. And so there was an essence to what he was saying that was a value for me too, like having that privacy, having that spaciousness, that space to myself that's in connection with nature, but just like a different form of nature. And then of course, when I moved further, I was very close to Santa Monica then when I moved the third time in Malibu. And that was more of like a social, and that's when I was coming back into socializing more because I have periods where I recluse. And those are often my prolific creation times because the way my channel and my gift of writing and creating courses and offers and all the things that I do, it comes from a great space of silence and communing with nature. And so for me, whenever I would look at the horizon or whenever I'm in deep silence, I start hearing the words, the messages, the offers, the courses, the content. So for me, it is a value to also like have my version of the middle of the woods and at the same time be close enough that I'm able to reach millions. And I'm able to reach millions of people, for example, through media, through social media, through my podcast, through my online courses. That can happen with anyone. You know, I'm so grateful for Wi-Fi and the internet and Instagram and social media and Facebook and all the different platforms, Zoom, you know, this podcast, whatever platform you're listening on. I'm super grateful because it allows me to, in my hermiting, reach millions of people for the healing and awakening of humankind, which is my goal and mission to continue to do that. Of course, I've already done it through many different avenues, from the reality show to ads on the internet, through all of the posts I've shared. You know, there's many ways that I've reached the masses, but it's my goal to continue to do that. So when I was like, I don't know about this, like, because I also believe in networking and I believe in the opportunities that come when we go to intentional social events. Like even just this week, you know, my beloved and I went to different dinners and lunches with friends. And through that, different work opportunities, different collaboration opportunities came just from the space of networking. That wasn't the intention, but this is how we open the field to co-create our destiny and what we're calling in and our desires is through people, because we're here in this co-creative reality. And so I remember thinking, like, first of all, no, I don't want to go to the middle of the woods, but I also didn't want him to compromise what would make him happy. So then one day we were talking, and then I don't know how it came up, but we said, like, well, what if we got like a yacht as our home? And then we can just like be out at sea, because for him the value was to have that spaciousness, to hermit, which meant like away from crowds, away from loudness and noise and even crazy parties, you know, because we met and lived, you know, live in Ibiza, which is in the summer can be quite wild, but that's actually not the truth of the whole island. So it's a protection of the island actually, because there's so much other beauty here, like spirituality and nature, and the energy of the island is really potent. So it was a very funny thing when we realized that we both love the yacht idea, because then we can dock the yacht when we want to network and socialize and be with people, but then we can go and sail anywhere and be free. And he liked it even more than the log cabin in the woods idea, because there was even more freedom, because you could literally just take your boat and drive it somewhere else if you want to go somewhere else. So then that became like a vision and a goal that we put on our list of like what we want to live, create, and experience, is to have this yacht so that we can go and live wherever we desire in the Mediterranean, take the yacht here, take the yacht there. And then I think there were other benefits we found, like we didn't have to pay like taxes. Yes, we have to pay to dock the yacht, you know, so that's one example of where we found a solution that we both loved. And then for me, I was like, amazing. It's like silent in the middle of the sea. So if I'm recording something or I'm writing, and I could write like my books on there. And so it was just a beautiful way to find a new solution that neither of us felt compromised, but we both felt more excited for. And so it's just like one example I'm sharing with you. And I think it's really important to like vocalize what you desire, what you need in your life, because we don't want our relationships to limit our expression, because in our spiritual awakening and evolution and development, we're really called forth to be our fullest expression. And of course, there may be some behaviors that you shift when you enter into relationship as a devotion to the relationship. But overall, we really want to express ourselves as much as possible and live our ultimate lives. And you might have a hobby that your partner doesn't have, and vice versa, or your partner might like to do things that you don't love to do. And so another place where we have found, and it's not really compromise, but for example, like I'm not a TV watcher, but my beloved does like to watch things. How he like turns off like his mind and he kind of unwinds and relaxes. And it's funny because the moment he'll put on a movie, he'll fall asleep, and I'm like, why did you ask me to watch a movie if you're falling asleep, you know? And I'm very conscious about what I put into my brain and my consciousness. So I really like to watch like feel good movies and like romantic comedies if I'm going to watch them. And I really do them for him. But do I love a good love story? Yeah, totally. So the solution is like whenever, if I choose to watch something with him, we choose a really funny movie or a love story, because I like that. I love to laugh and I also love a good love story. And then he gets his time of relaxing and unwinding in front of the TV. So that's another example of where like I don't have to compromise and do something I don't like. I actually do like love stories and I actually do like to laugh. So there's a way that we could both do something that we both like and it meets the needs of what each of us is wanting to experience. And I can share a lot of other examples, but this is an opportunity for you to look at where have you been compromising in life or sacrificing in life. Because even when we think of wealth creation, or even if you think of your mission and your purpose, you're not meant to do it in a way that sacrifices or that compromises. So even when they say like, oh, you can't have it all, that's not true. You can have it all. You can have the love you want. You can have the business you want. You can have the life you want. You can travel as much as you want. You can take care of the needs of other people as well as yourself. What I think is a key that I don't believe is selfish, but I think is essential, is in order for you to show up with your best energy in every situation and in your relationships, and to show up as your best and give your best, you must feel content and happy and fully expressed, and you must come from an overflowing place. So that means you cannot compromise, you cannot sacrifice, or you will feel resentful. And then the purity of how you're showing up in that relationship is not there, and that's felt. So you are most responsible for your energy. So it's like what they say in the airlines when you're going to go fly, and they're like, okay, first you put on your mask and then you put on that of your child, and then you help other people. It's the same in life. And that's really part of your spiritual practice as well. Your personal development is that self-care. Because when you take care of yourself and you're feeling good, you show up with devotion. You show up from a place of like, I want to help. I want to, not like I feel obligated, because compromise and sacrifice are connected to obligation. And this is not the vibe. This is not the vibe of the new paradigm. The new paradigm, you're making choices and decisions from highest excitement. You're doing what you love with people you love. You are fully expressed. You're sharing your gifts with the world. So in order to show up as the best partner, as the best client, as the best practitioner, or the best worker, or whatever it is that you do in your, or even parent, to show up the best as anything in your life, it's so important that you honor and take care of you first. And then when you're in right relation with yourself, you can be in right relation with others. And so that requires the art of not compromising. And you can get more done when you're in that good place. So, for example, imagine if you're tired and you show up somewhere because you compromise or you sacrifice so that you could do this thing. but you're tired. And then all you're doing while you're there is thinking about how tired you are. And then everyone else sees how tired you are. Versus if you just take that time for yourself and not compromise on your time or your energy, then you can show up with the right energy and give your all. And then people are that much more appreciative. They notice that much more what you do, because if you're coming in with the wrong energy, they feel it too. And it's like, it all just goes out the window. It's like, it doesn't even serve the purpose or the function. And I would say that when you sit there and you know, because even in the healing world, there's sometimes was this essence of like, oh, you have to be a martyr, and you do good if you sacrifice. And I think that came from a lot of religious programming. But the truth is, it's really like when you're giving from a non-sacrificial place, that it's the purest. It's the least karma creating. There's no attachments. So when you show up fully excited, happy to be doing it, not sacrificing, not compromising, but doing it in a way that it lights you up, you're overflowing, and so that others will feel that way too. And so you be the leader, be the ringleader, or you can share this podcast episode with someone who you're in relationship with and you're trying to find a solution and you haven't figured it out yet. Use this practice that I shared, and also show up. And then you can even let those you love know, like, hey, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to like take care of myself for like a half hour. I'm going to take a nap, then I'm going to come back and I'm going to be ready to go. You know, this is that art of not compromising. So then you show up as your best and everyone receives you as your best. And that's so beautiful. And so what we're going to go through a process in the bonus content that really supports you in coming into greater alignment and greater self-love, because oftentimes what happens is you may compromise and sacrifice because it comes from a place of not wanting to let people down, not wanting to be rejected, wanting to be loved. So we're going to, and it could be all unconscious and subconscious, and you may not even realize it. And so what we're going to do is going to realign and do a self-healing practice to bring you into right relation with your highest self, so that you can make decisions from a non-compromised place. You can make it from your highest soul integrity. And then this would ripple out into all of your relations. And if you ever want to go deeper in relationships, I always recommend the Ultimate Relationships course that I have. And otherwise, I will see you inside the bonus content. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you next time. Bye for now. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Dr. Nikki Starr Show. Please like this podcast and share it with anyone you feel would benefit. Subscribe to the podcast to receive bonus content. And remember, every Monday, the video version goes live on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for being on the ascension path with me and for doing this great work.